This is not a parsnip. This is actually a Hamburg rooted parsley. It's got a parsley looking top. Now this portion, or this particular variety, the top is not edible, but the root actually smells like parsley and can be used for seasoning in stews and soups. This was one that came back from last year. We got one to grow last year as an experimental process. So we're going to mimic what we have done with carrots in the past years by using boards or cardboard to lay on top of the seeds until they germinate. Now we're going to do two different plants here. We're going to do a row of the Hamburg rooted parsley and then a row of hollow crown parsnips. Both of these take about 20 to 30 days to germinate. You can pre-soak the parsnip seeds to get them to germinate a little quicker, but with this method here that we're using of covering the seeds, it should help intensify or increase the germination. A couple of things you want to know. You want to work your soil very good. If it needs to add some, if it's kind of in the poor category, you want to add some organic matter, some compost. You can add some all-balanced fertilizer to this. You don't want to add too much nitrogen because you're going to have a lot of green tops and not very deep roots. Also, what we have here is we've got some tree roots running here and then some down on that end that we're going to plant around, because these can potentially get 18 inches in length or in depth and 3 or 4 inches in diameter. We've had some years past do that. So we're going to do the parsley root here, the parsnips over here. We want to space them about 3 inches to 4 inches, because here's the thing. Let's say this is one, here is another. You want to have enough space for that crown, that root, to develop without being pressured against the next one. So if you have them too tight, they're going to compete and they're going to feel resistance and they're not going to grow very good. So you want to have a little space there just to give them a little extra room. Now the square foot garden method indicates 16 per square foot. I'm going to give them 4 inches of space because I want these to get very large and very have no restriction in growth. So you just want to mark these if you're doing them together. They will have a difference in tops. Obviously this looks like a parsnip or a parsley green, and the parsnip will have a different structure. So we're going to move the board here. I've worked the soil. Now I've got garlic planted on that end there, spring garlic. It has rained, it's very moist, so we don't have to worry about watering. So what I want to do is I will have to thin these out. I'm okay with thinning them out. Between the rows here, about 8 inches, good enough spacing. So I'm going to do a little drill here for the parsley root, the rooted parsley, as best I can with this moist soil. It's time to plant. I got to get this in the ground. So these will grow. So about 1/4 of an inch if you can get that. With this board, it's going to greatly enhance that germination. So parsnip seeds are only really recommended good for about 1 year. You maybe get 2 years out of them. These here are a year old, so we're going to plant those. I have no expectations that none of them won't germinate. They're all going to germinate. These here were ones that we saved from about 2013, so they are extremely old and probably have no viability whatsoever. But just to ensure, I am going to really coat the ground with these to use some of these up so I can get back, and when I get these to germinate, I can actually have, you know, exactly what I want, a great number of good parsnips. So we get all that moved out of the way, and we're going to cover these up. Again, you can pre-soak these. Some of these are not going to go under the ground, but that's fine. I'll get something to germinate very well. And then what we can do is when we come back and thin these out, we're going to snip. Well, we can probably, based on how moist the soil is, we can pull them out and actually eat them as baby parsnips. But it will be up to 30 days before they will germinate. Now, once these do germinate, I get them thinned out, I will mulch them with leaves. But the reasoning behind the boards here, and you can do this with cardboard as well, These seeds are very small. They're going to take a very long time to germinate. So the issue that we have, whether you're in a raised bed, ground like we are, in a container, that soil to seed contact, it will dry out unless you're consistently watering it. So what we have done here is we've planted the seeds, we've covered them up, and then we've put a barrier over those seeds to prevent moisture loss, to prevent evaporation. So in a couple of weeks, we will look, raise the boards up, look. If we see a good germination stand, we'll remove the board. It'll be fine. Just like the carrots, if they are not exposed to sunlight, they still believe they're underground. They're going to try to pierce their way through the board. So if you just flip the board over or remove it, the parsnips will feel like they're out of the soil and they'll be fine. So we're going to do that to get the most successful stand that we possibly can. I will put a couple rocks on here just for added security. But that will work, and this works exactly the same way with carrots to get those to germinate as well.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.